Welcome to the YouTube channel of radial.ru. My name is Dieter, amateur radio call sign Delta Lima 1 Delta Bravo Yankee, and I would like to give you a short introduction into the app HFpager and its protocol PS18. The app was developed by Yevgeny, Uniform Alpha 3, Alpha Hotel Mike, and Sergei, Uniform Alpha 9, Oscar Victor, and it is the only smartphone-based efficient weak signal data mode for shortwave communications we know of. It was mainly developed for NVIS, Near Vertical Incident Skywave, which means shortwave communications over a distance of about 150 or 200 kilometers, but it has been also very successfully tested between Germany and Russia over a distance of 2,100 kilometers in the 20-meter shortwave band. The mode is as efficient as well-known modes like FT8 or JS8 call, as it theoretically offers an advantage of 27 dB over SSB concerning its signal-noise ratio. It can be used in the amateur radio service, in citizen band radios, and also in governmental and commercial services. One big advantage over modes like JS8 call is that it does not require any synchronization of the device clock like it would be needed in FT8 or JS8 call. The reason being that this mode is developed for use in very remote areas where you don't have any internet access and you cannot synchronize your clock. There are versions for Android and there's also a Windows version, and the Android version is available via the Google Play Store. The picture here shows a typical configuration. You have your smartphone running the HFpager app and you have your shortwave transceiver. In between you have an interface. This interface has a sound card here and it also has Vox circuitry. But you can also use much simpler interfaces without any sound chip, like this one, for example. It just connects to the headphone and microphone input-output of the smartphone, and on the other side to the transceiver, of course. If you use interfaces with a sound chip built in, Android recognizes those sound chips very reliably, but you have to enable this in the expert settings of Android. Using any kind of interface, you have to disable any sound notifications in Android, as they would be transmitted over the air. It is also useful to check the energy saving settings of Android, as some phones tend to kill running apps very aggressively. You should allow the app to run in the background. One big advantage is that if your interface does not work anymore and you have no spare somewhere in the outdoor, you can simply put your smartphone close to the loudspeaker and the microphone of the transceiver and it will still work, but of course not as efficiently as with a proper interface. So now let's move to the user interface of the app and let's see how we can use the app. This is the user interface of the HFpager app. Before we start, let me emphasize a few things. Firstly, in order to use the app over the air, you need to obtain a proper license to do so. This may be an amateur radio license, or in some countries you can use it over CB citizen band radio if data modes are allowed where you live, or it may be a commercial radio license. Transmitting without a license will get you into trouble. Secondly, always set your transceiver to low power, as this is a 100% duty cycle mode. This means you should use around 25 watts with a 100 watts transceiver, or maybe 5 watts with a QRP transceiver. If you use more power, you may damage your radio. Check your transceiver's manual in this respect. Now let's have a look at the user interface of the app. In the header we have the name of the app, and this is an indication of the version we are using. There are actually two versions. One is available at the website nvis.club. This is the no Google version, NG. And the other version can be downloaded and licensed over the Google Play App Store. In brackets we have the license number, and on the right side we have a button for the settings, which we will turn to a little bit later. In the upper part of the user interface we first have a waterfall display. A display which is already well known from amateur radio applications like FT8 and JS8 call. It indicates the frequency range we are receiving in. The signal from the other station we want to receive should be inside the yellow lines. If it's too much to the left or to the right side, we have to readjust our frequency. Below that we have a meander symbol. This indicates the synchronization with the signal of the other station. If it turns yellow, we are starting to getting a synchronization. If it's solid green, then we have a synchronization with the transmission of the other side. The bar here, the green bar, is the audio frequency signal strength bar. It indicates the strength of the audio signal we get from the transceiver. If it's green, it's okay. If it turns yellow, then it is a little bit loud, and if you see a red bar, then it's definitely much too loud and you have to turn down the volume of the transceiver. Below this we have these segments here. These indicate beacon transmissions that we receive from the other station. Every segment symbolizes 15 minutes, and this means that we have received 2 beacon transmissions from the other station. A beacon transmission is a very useful feature of this app. It allows the automatic transmission of beacon messages every 15 minutes or every hour, as you like. And so the other side can see whether there is still a connection between the two stations and whether the transceiver is still working. Below this we have here these indicators. R means receiving, it turns green when we're receiving. The gray dot on the right side to this will turn yellow, and this indicates the reception of beacon transmissions. And T means transmitting. This will turn red if we are currently transmitting a message. In this area here we can see what we are currently receiving. So if we are receiving a message, you will see text here, and also if you're transmitting, you will see the text you're transmitting in this area here. Below that we have a button for entering a new message. If we press it, we get a new window, and here in this field we have to enter the number of our corresponding station. You see that all stations participating in HFpager get a number. There are no amateur radio call signs, and the reason for this is simply that HFpager is not only made for amateur radio but also for other radio services, and so it's a little bit like in DMR radio, where you also have a numbering system to identify the other station. You enter your text here. Please note that there are no German umlauts possible or French accents at the moment. It's only English text, or it's text in Russian in Cyrillic letters. That's also possible. If you want to receive a confirmation by the other stations, you hit this button here, and you can also specify if you want a retransmission if you get no confirmation from the other side. In this area here you have all the messages you have been sending out and you have been receiving. A green background indicates messages that you have been sending out. This is your number, and this is the number of the recipient, and this is the number of the message. You also get a time indicator. With messages that you have been receiving, you also get an error rate indication here, 2.8% in this case, but it's still fine. The content of the message has been still transmitted very well. As you see, all the messages are stored in folders. You get a new folder for every new day, and this number here in bracket shows you the amount of messages you have already been receiving on that day. There are also some special folders. This folder here with a B inside the symbol is for all the received beacon messages. And this folder here contains all received messages with geographical coordinates. And here I can show you a very special feature. If we press with a finger for a longer time on this message, a new window opens. And here we can open Google Maps or Maps.me, and this will show us immediately the location of the other station on a map. This is very convenient if you're in the field, if the other station needs help or whatever. Google Map requires that you have a connection to the internet, but Maps.me has the feature of offline map which you can download in advance. So you can use this feature even if you don't have an internet access somewhere in the field. Now let's enter the settings menu. This is your call sign you get when you register the app. As it is a numerical value, as a ham radio operator, you're required to include your amateur radio call sign in the message every 10 minutes in order to stay legal. This is the transmit speed. 5.86 baud is a good value for shortwave. If the bands are crowded and the conditions are bad, you can go down to 1.46 baud. So this increases the chance of getting through to the other side. 46.88 baud is only meant for UHF, VHF communication. This here is the audio frequency offset. 1700 Hz is a good value for most radios, but some radios require other value. You might experiment in this respect here. As you know, all digital modes on ham radio on shortwave are USB upper sideband, but if your radio does not support this, you can also transmit in LSB and check this box, and in this way you still can communicate with other stations that use USB. So this is very practical here. This here adjusts your audio output level to the transceiver. You have to be careful not to overdrive your radio in order to always have a very clean signal. So yeah, don't overdo this. This adds some gain to the waterfall display. If you don't see anything or if it's too weak, just choose one of these values and this might improve things. This is quite important here, as a lot of Android phones have the nasty habit of killing apps that are don't have their screen on. This will keep the screen on, and the chance that the app is still running for a long time and you can still receive messages increases here. So this should probably be on all the time, but you can experiment with your smartphone. This here is for the receiving speeds for automatic reception here. This is for shortwave, and the more boxes you have checked here, the more energy your smartphone consumes with the app. So it's a good idea to exclude, for example, here 46.88 baud if you're operating on shortwave. Here you can find the beacon settings. As mentioned before, a beacon can be transmitted automatically every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour, as you wish. You have to address the beacon messages to your corresponding stations by entering the call sign here. For example, this one here. It is probably a good idea to include your GPS position into the message. You have to check this box to do so, and you can include a message text in the beacon. This can, for example, include your call sign. You can also add a CW ID at the end of your transmission with your call sign. This is probably not necessary, as you already include your call sign in the beacon text, and this is considered open speech. There is no encryption here, but if you want, you can do so. This here is quite an interesting setting. It is not included in all versions. As far as I know, it is not included in the current Google version. This here is for activating a personal SMS gateway. You can forward any message that is received by this device to a certain phone number of your choice using the short messages service. This might not be legal in all radio services and in all countries. The idea behind this is that you can leave the station, the radio station, outside the city in a low noise environment, and you can still get all the messages sent to you by SMS to another phone that you carry with you. By clicking here, you can get a better view of all the beacon transmissions you have received, with the color green indicating that everything is okay with the message, and the color yellow indicating that there have been some problems. This setting here stops all transmissions immediately, and with this setting you can retune the reception of the app automatically in case that you see on the waterfall display that the other station is slightly off frequency. And with this setting here you can force the app to send out a beacon transmission immediately. And this is here to register the app. To register the app, with the Google version, you enter your email address and then you hit activate. With the no Google version, you get an activation key which you enter here, and then you hit activate and you're good to go. By clicking here, you get more information about the app. as you can see here. And last but not least, this setting here stops the app and allows you to exit it. This is important because if you don't do this to exit the app will run in the background and will draw current from your battery. So this was a short tour of the HFpager app. We hope you found this video useful. Thank you very much for viewing, and until the next time.